Becoming a professional athlete isn't something that is necessarily commonplace in Montana, but for former CMR wrestler Josh Huestis, he did get there. And I got to sit down with him to learn more about the hurdles and adversity he faced in his journey to the NBA. This is his story on how he got there from here. You know, first thing I wanted to ask you about is, can you just kind of tell me about what it was like growing up in Great Falls, Montana, having to make it out of the city?
You know, it's a tough question to answer, because honestly it was unbelievable in a lot of ways, right? Like in terms of a place to grow up, the friends I had, the community, all of those things. Like it's been so good to me and so amazing. And like being a basketball player coming out here isn't the easiest thing to do with like the dreams and the aspirations that I had, right? And I'm trying to help move it along, but you know, honestly, like Montana basketball players are pretty overlooked and kind of written off, and so it was very difficult to get my name out there. So that, you know, that was an obstacle for me. You know, just coming from a small town. You know, for Montana, this is not a small town, but everywhere else, like, tell people I'm from Great Falls, and they have no idea what that means, right? And so, just everywhere that I went, I had to do just a little bit more, right? I had to do a little bit more, prove myself a little bit more, just because of the place that I was coming from. You know, it was definitely an uphill battle in that sense, but I think growing up here kind of helped instill in me like that work ethic and that toughness that was required for me to be able to do that, right? I mean, the people that are here are hard workers, they're humble, and you know, that rubbed off on me and helped me become who I am, and I think that just served me really well in the long term.
You mentioned the obstacles of like being from this town and stuff like that. How did you kind of just put that beside you and just realize that you are able to compete with some of the top talent out there?
You know, there were days that I didn't feel like I could, right? Like anybody, there were days I would wake up and I go, like, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I don't have what it takes. Maybe this dream isn't going to be possible. And then there were days I was like, I'm going to do this, because one of the things that I learned on my path is like anytime you run into an obstacle, right? You have two choices. You either let it beat you or you beat it. And my parents were the type that raised me that we don't quit things. That was just how we were taught. Like, if it's like you start something, you finish it, like you don't give up. And I kind of have lived my life always going like, the last thing I want to do is have regrets later. And so I always felt as though if I didn't give it my all, if I didn't follow this through and see this through and put everything I had into it, that, you know, I would one day regret that. And you know, obviously it led me to some incredible places, and I'm so happy that I stayed with it. But there were definitely days where I felt like it wasn't meant to be. And thankfully I had people in my corner that helped push me and helped keep me motivated, and then just finding it within myself to not give up. And you know, I never looked back, and eventually was able to make the things that I always dreamt about happen.
You know, how did you get over those days where you said that you don't know if it was meant to be?
You know, there were a lot of days I would look externally, like call my mom. I mean, if my mom were here, she would tell you about all the calls I made to her, especially during my freshman year at Stanford, almost in tears. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have it in me. I don't know if I can. I just don't know if I'm good enough. Maybe I'm just not meant to do this. And you know, talking with her, talking with my friends, family like my mom, my dad, everybody, just like them staying in my ear and reminding me of the things that I've been through, and that reminding me of their belief in me, because to be honest, like, that was where a lot of the belief would come from, because it was always harder for me to have the same belief in myself. And I feel like a lot of people do deal with stuff like that, but hearing it from them and feeling in my heart that I was doing it for them, and I didn't want to let them down, and I didn't want to disappoint them by giving up, it just pushed me further and further. And I had, like I said, an amazing support system that kept me motivated and kept me staying positive, and definitely would not have made it nearly as far without them.
You know, how important were your parents in your path?
I mean, they're everything to me. Like, from the time I was a baby, like, they have been those people who have been in my corner through thick and thin. You know, there were definitely people along the way that when I told them what I wanted to do, that I wanted to be a basketball player in the NBA and do all these things, that I would kind of get that, like, oh yeah, okay, every kid says that, right? Like, it's not necessarily a realistic dream to people, but my parents were always like, okay, if you're gonna do this, we're gonna put everything into this, right? And they dedicated the time and the money the long drives, the hotels, the long expensive flights. They did all of that to help me follow my dream. And you know, as a parent now myself, looking back on that, like that was totally instrumental in everything. I now realize just how much they really gave to me and how important it was. You know, I try to now prepare myself to do the same thing for my kids, because without my parents doing those things for me, like there's a 0% chance I would make it to where I am, and I owe everything to them.
And how do you kind of hope to take that over to your kids?
Oh man, you know, they say that your parents screw you up in some ways, and you try not to screw up your kids in the same ways. You just end up screwing them up in different ways. And so I'm going to take what I learned from them, the good, the bad, and I'm trying to do it with my kids. And you know, my son is 4 now, and all he talks about is wanting to be a basketball player one day. And I want to foster that and push him and support him, and also not make him feel like he has to be that, right? It's this delicate balance of support and pushing them to succeed, and also trying to be dad at the same time. And I don't want him to have to think that he needs to be me. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like as a parent, all I want is for my kids to be happy, and whatever that is, I will support them wholeheartedly. And I know my parents felt the same. For me, it was basketball, and maybe for my son, it'll be band, or maybe it'll be theater, or who knows what it might be. And whatever it is, like I will give to him and to my daughter the same that my parents gave to me.
I know you're a huge advocate for mental health. What have been some of the biggest things you've dealt with mentally that you had to get over to get to where you were in the NBA?
Like I said before, just my belief in myself. And to be honest, like one of the biggest things that I've had to overcome is because I gave all of myself to a game, right? I believe that you have to give every single ounce of yourself to basketball to succeed in it to the level that I was blessed enough to be able to. I had to eat, sleep, drink, dream, everything basketball, basketball, basketball. And so it pushed me into a spot where when I even looked at myself, what I saw was basketball player. If anybody would ask me like, Josh, who are you? The very first thing I would say is a basketball player. And after that, I really had no idea. And so as I continued to play, you know, that puts a lot of pressure on you. Like, you know, how I felt about myself internally was based on how I played. If I played good, I liked me. If I played bad, I didn't like me. And you know, that wears on you after a while. And got to the point where I, you know, sought help and talked to people. And even now, after I stopped playing, still trying to find that identity of me, right? Like getting away. And I know I'm still so heavily involved in basketball, but you know, basketball is what I do. It's not who I am. You know, I'm a parent, son, a brother, friend, all of those things first. And it has taken me 33 years old, and I'm still not quite there, but you know, it's taken me all these years to even get close to the place that I'm at now, because I gave every ounce of my soul to this game. And I wasn't as balanced as I could have been, you know what I mean? But again, when we're talking about like my son, I've been there now, and with him and my daughter, I know the pitfalls and the red flags to look out for, and how to talk to them in a way that hopefully they don't have to. And even these kids at camp, right? Kids I run into on my teams or training or camps or whatever, teach them the things that I learned later than I wish I would have.
When was a big turning point for you in your life when you realized that you actually can make it as a basketball player in Great Falls?
Oh man, you know what? It was, there were like 2, right? So going into my senior year of high school, I spent the summer playing AAU and seeing myself playing games in front of Kentucky and Duke and North Carolina. I mean, these huge schools, and holding my own, playing good in front of these schools, playing against the top players in the country, and starting to get noticed and getting offers, and seeing myself get ranked. And I'm like, oh, like I can do this, right? And then, you know, it was good. And then my junior year of college, it came back again when I started seeing my name pop up on like draft boards, like, oh, somebody could potentially be drafted, things like that. And to me, the NBA was always the dream, right? But even, you know, my parents instilled in me to always do other, like have school and all those things. So I realized like how insane of odds it is to be able to play at that level. And so I was always prepared to like, oh, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm gonna give everything I have, but who knows? But then when I started to see that and started to see my name pop up for the draft and get invited to workouts and do all these things, like it was this weird moment of like, oh man, like it's happening. And to be honest, like it motivated me just even further because, again, not the most healthy approach, but like I was motivated by the fear of not accomplishing my dream, right? And so I was like, I'm this close and I will always regret it if I don't see it through and make it happen. And so was able to get it done and was able to play 8 years professionally, which is far and above more than I could have ever asked for. And, I lived out my dream, and it's very cool for me to sit back and look at it now and go think about the kid that I used to be wanting to do that and knowing that I was able to accomplish it.
I know you talked about the calls you made to your mom, especially your freshman year at Stanford, but you mentioned the fear of not being able to make it and stuff like that. How much did that kind of dwell on you, and what were some of your big practices that allowed you to push forward with that?
Yeah, man, like I lived, and I wouldn't recommend this for everybody, but I lived every day kind of like terrified that somebody was working harder than me and scared that one day I wasn't going to be able to win. You know what I mean? And so I worked because I was like, someone is chasing after me. Someone wants my spots. I'm gonna have to beat somebody for this job one day. And always kind of looking over my shoulder, like, who's coming for me, right? And that's what pushed me, that fear. And it's how I got over it was, and I tell kids this, like, what can help beat fear is practice. Like I saw myself do things on the court in my own time practicing thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So when it came time to step on the court, I was like, I've done this before. I've been here. I know how to do this. And then it comes down to just trusting yourself and trusting your training. And, I knew that because I had worked so hard that I could do it. I knew that, I had put in the work. And so when it came time to perform, I was going to be able to do it.
Looking back in your life, like looking at a young Josh in his driveway shooting like a 3, 2, 1 buzzer beater in high school or in college. Is there anything you wish you can go back and tell younger Josh Huestis?
Oh man, I would have told him that to not listen to people on the outside telling him he can't, because there are always going to be those people, right, that don't believe that you can accomplish the dream that you want to accomplish for whatever reason they feel that way. And those things kept me up at night because it would lead to doubt in my own mind. I mean, I was definitely able to push past it, but it caused a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of pain, just feeling like I was being told that what I wanted more than anything in the world was impossible. And if I could go back and tell him that he's on the right path and that he's doing okay and everything will turn out okay, on and off the court, everything will turn out okay, I would do that. Because, there's, like any kid, like any teenager or younger, like you go through these times when you don't know if everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean? And if I could go back and reassure myself that as long as I stay on the path and believe and keep working, like I will end up in a place that makes me happy, and that's where I am now.
And, talking about advocating for mental health, like what are some of the big ways you go about doing that right now?
Talking about it. It has gotten better. There's still a long ways to go in terms of like how open people are about their mental health. When I was, in high school, it was not something that you talked about. Like depression and anxiety, like those weren't things that were shared. I believed that however I felt was something that I needed to handle on my own and within me. And then getting to this place where it became something that I figured out I couldn't handle by myself. And I was in a position where I was supposed to be on top of the world, playing in the NBA, I should have it all these things. And still I was struggling with this. And just recognizing that it's okay to feel that way. Like there's far more people that feel that way than you think there are. Like you're not going through these things alone. And feeling the responsibility on myself to go, people think that you have it all figured out, Josh, like that you have no struggles. And being able to like then share the things that I go through and show that it does not matter what situation you are in life. It does not matter where you are. Like it is normal to hurt and to not be okay. And if somebody like me can feel these way, like anybody, it can happen to anyone, right? It is not external things will not fill whatever hole it is that you have, right? You have to find those things internally, and you find them in love from family and friends, and you don't have to handle it on your own. So just trying to be as vocal as I can about asking for help and making it's okay to not be okay, right? That saying, like, just trying to reinforce that in these kids, because I feel like so many of them don't feel like they have somebody to talk to or somebody that they can relate to.
And the Josh Huestis Foundation, how have you been able to kind of grow that?
Yeah, it has exploded and grown so much over the last couple of years. It's been fun to watch. Just trying to give back to kids all over Montana in any way that we can. I obviously am heavily involved in basketball, but basketball, I don't want it to be this thing where we only help kids in sports, right? Because I want to impact as many people as we can. One of the biggest things, the thing that I look forward to the most, we're doing on this coming Sunday at Shields. We do a foster kid shopping spree. I'm adopted, and so the foster care system is very important to me. And we've done it for a few years now, where we take 20 kids from the foster care system in Great Falls and the surrounding areas, and each kid gets money to go shop at Shields. They open it up for us. It's just us and the kids in there. They get to play games, buy what they need, clothes, shoes, toys, things like that, just trying to show people that we care. I've always been a believer that, and I've told myself since I was a little kid, that if I ever had a platform where I could help people, that it is my responsibility to do so. And I feel like that should be everybody's approach to life, is that if you can help somebody, you should, because that's what the world needs. That's, my entire purpose. If I can just leave the world and it be just a little bit better after me being in it, like, I'll take that, even if it's just helping one person. And I'm fortunate enough to have the means and the platform to be able to help a lot of people. And so I'm going to continue to try to help as much as I can while I'm here.
And last thing, Josh, you're a very positive person. So, how do you at these camps spread positivity? How do you, when you're at the community, spread positivity? Like, what is positivity to you?
Positivity to me is showing up. Do I feel positive every day? I'm human. Like, definitely not, right? There's days I don't feel positive, but I try to remember that my interactions that I have with people on a daily basis, with kids, with people in the community, that could be the only time that they have a chance to interact with me. And the impression that I leave on them is a lasting one. And if I can convey positivity and happiness and joy and hope to people and let them know that I care when I'm talking to them, like, that means a lot. And I remember being the little kid, meeting my heroes, meeting CMR varsity players when I was in middle school, or meeting NBA players when I was a little kid, and remembering those interactions to this day, like, that instilled in me how impactful that they are. And so when I head out into the world, it is my responsibility. Like, how I'm feeling is irrelevant. Like, my interaction with each person that I meet is what's important, and how can I make it a lasting and positive experience for them. And so trying to focus on that, because like you said, like, I'm human. Some days I feel it and some days I don't, but pushing myself to be positive at all times, it helps me and it helps those around me. So I'm going to continue to do it.
Is there anything else you want to say about overcoming obstacles, adversity, getting to where you got to?
I mean, just for me, and is for everybody, like, when you face obstacles or walls or hurdles, like, you have two choices. You can let it defeat you, or you can defeat it. And I've never been one to want to be defeated or feel okay being defeated. And I don't think anybody enjoys being beaten down. And so you always have that choice, and every closed door opens a different one. And I'm one to tell you that, like, the path that I ended up on is not the path that I thought I would. The end goal was where I wanted to be, but the path of how I got there was not exactly how I thought it would be. And I couldn't be happier for it. There were moments I was like, everything's going wrong. And then the next day I was like, wow, everything's going right. And so taking things day by day and not getting ahead of yourself. If something bad happens, like, it might be bad today, but that exact same thing could lead to something great down the road. And life is long, and you never know where you're gonna end up. So that's my long-winded answer.
With this first segment of You Can Get There From Here, I'm Will Charlton, MTN Sports.